What's going on, Leisure? Well, welcome back to Beyond the 90. And Leicester have drew to Brighton. And just before we get into the specifics, I just want to say the way that we played this game, the confidence that this team has is one of the reasons why I nearly stopped making videos on this channel, because Steve Cooper was running this team into the ground. I genuinely believe that, because this is the same team, and we've got a manager that was uber negative, that didn't know that the players had to drag the manager kicking and screaming, to a manager that goes, here's the system I'm playing, here's the formation, and it's just made so much of a difference for the fact that they believe in what he's doing and they believe him to a certain extent. Um, Brighton are a top Premier League team. They are kind of where we were a couple of seasons ago when we were playing for Europe, playing some brilliant football with a great manager. And even the 2 goals they scored were outside the box. Um, it shows you how good. I think they have a little bit of an off day. You got to remember that they um, have already played on Thursday, Sunday. But then again, if you want to be getting Europe on a regular occasion, you're going to have to do that. And I was just super impressed with the team. There was things that Rude got wrong, and there were certain players that were a little bit off, but Rude managed to correct that and change it up. And something that I don't think has been mentioned too much, he's using all 5 substitutions. How many times did we see substitutions come way too late? Substitutions come in the 81st minute. Substitutions came in the 88th minute that made zero difference under Cooper. Substitutions that just didn't happen. Like, we'd see 1 or 2 subs, and then he can play going, oh, what are we supposed to do? And the contrast is night and day, literally, between Steve Cooper's night football, where it was all kind of negative, and Jamie Vardy was cut off, and then surprise, surprise, you feed the goat, and the goat will score. Who would have thought it? Not Steve Cooper. But what Steve Cooper is, the reason why I'm just mentioning him again, because it's important to realize, and I say this to certain fans that, like, for example, a Newcastle fan, a Villa fan, etc., that I've bumped into, and it's one of my phrases, like, just enjoy not being completely shit. And I mean that in all sincerity, and not to put people down, because we've been there and we know how shit the football has been. Um, and at the same time, when things are going well, it's just breathe it in and enjoy it. Now, it's not the finished article. It's nowhere near. Rude's only been in what? Time recording, 8 days? 9 days? That's it. And yet, he's produced almost miracles. I've said, and people have rinsed me for this, that this team is capable of getting a mid-table finish. And under Rude, again, very early days. The only goal is just to stay in the Premier League, especially with that's the goal at the moment. And Rude's come in and said that we're only going to stay in the Premier League. That's what we're going to do. And that should be the first goal. There are signs that we're starting to break away, but there's also negatives where you look at the games that are coming up this month and some of the hard grift we've got to do, especially towards Christmas, Boxing Day, and the beginning of New Year, with things that are coming up. But let's get into some of the specifics. Now, what Rude did, which I didn't mind too much, I was willing to back him on this. If it's not broke, don't fix it. So when the lineup was announced, one in person that was a bit of a surprise was Jordan Ayew. And then I thought about it and go, do you know what? The reason why is because obviously, because it's his former side, you can't play Buonanotte. Fair. There's nothing we can do about that. Another thing, when we're playing, that means we're going to move Christian. It'll be the same team apart from that. I thought, okay. McAteer didn't have the, like, thinking McAteer from the last game. I was like, okay, give him another opportunity for the defensive. And the same thing with Ayew. Put Ayew in the team because he gives you the defensive solidity alongside Christensen. Now, I was going, it's what Rude wants to do. I'll back him. When we started to play, it was clear that Ayew wasn't up for it. And I think he's been the biggest victim of this. He came on against he came on under the previous manager on previous game, sorry, and looked decent. Now he's starting to look like a bit of a lost soul. I don't know if he's cut out for this. I think he's a versatile player that can play all across the front line. It'll be interesting to see who Rude goes for in the summer, because I think that's another player, that's another position that we'd look to improve on. Probably somebody that can play all the way along the front, but probably on the right hand side in replacement for Tau. But I think that Jordan Ayew didn't have his best game. So the idea was you sacrifice what you got going forward, but you're more defensively sound. I don't think he really did that overall in the game. Jordan was, again, people mentioned him as super. I was willing to back Rude and go, look, you've done so well. Whatever you want to do, you want to do. And I think he noticed after a while. He went, yeah, this is not happening today. He was better in the second half. He was pushing up a lot more higher. So I'll show you some of the positioning and some of the stats around it as well. So in terms of, you look at the difference again. This is from minute 1 to minute 44. Between getting up the pitch. Now, we did set up in a low block, but you see how one-sided it is. Casey is much higher, doing a lot more of the pace compared to Ayew, and that's fine in a sense. And as you can see in this, Jamie Vardy was left isolated, which is something that we had under Steve Cooper. But the difference is, obviously, we came into the game a lot later, and I think this stat shows it as well, coming into this one. We did have some opportunities. Brighton had the better opportunities where they scored. But overall, we started to come into the game right towards the end. And I think if that came, and something is the reverse of what I said under Steve Cooper against Brentford when we didn't have him. The more the game goes on, the more the opposition scores goals. I think the more time this goes on, the more we look like winning. Let's be honest. We look like, if this game went into extra time, because I appreciate, again, it's obviously not a World Cup game or whatever, I think we win that game because we had Brighton on the back foot and they didn't know what to do. And this is a brilliant Brighton side with some young, talented players and some up-and-coming players that they've replaced. And they've been brilliant. And let's get... So I want to give credit to them. So again, Jordan Ayew didn't work. And that's fine. But it'll be interesting if they bring in Mavididi from the start. And maybe that is a little bit of luck. You need to get out of the team and then show what you've done. Because I think that substitution really made the difference. And the same with the Cordova-Reid one. But if we look at again, we've all seen the starting lineup by now. We'll go through some of the players individually. There was a few players a little bit off or just didn't hit the heights they did in the previous one, which is fine. But I want to mention their players. So you look at the front four of that. Ferguson, very, very good striker. I know we were linked to him. João Pedro, Ferguson, we kept quiet. Rutter, we kept quiet. Matoma, we kept quiet. We had that one opportunity in the first few minutes, and he skied it across. And maybe it just wasn't Brighton's day today. João Pedro, we kept quiet. And the way we did that is we just set up in a low block, and we decided to if you're going to have the ball, it's kind of similar to what he did in the last game. I've got a screenshot to kind of prove that. Shout out to Tactica for another great analysis. I'll leave the link in the... I know I said last time, I completely forgot. Go to tactica.ar on _AR on Twitter. You'll be able to find him, or X. We set up to basically nullify the midfield and the fullbacks. This is the fullbacks and the attacking wingers. So we can see here, they're trying to push up. They're trying to create room. And we didn't get enough. Basically, they couldn't go through the middle. They couldn't change that position. We held the midfield. The midfielders sat in. You saw Wolford and Diddy and Samoria there. And you got the back four, and they're all compact. So they go, you can't get through our midfield. And in the first half, and you could see what Enzo was doing a lot more. There was a lot more lovely passing triangles. There was opportunities for certain players to play in a way that really benefited some of the players we have. People were complaining about James Justin, and I think James Justin is partly he was to blame, and partly it's the way that Hertzler sets up his team, where he tries to overload the other sides. And they were forced to do that because we didn't let them through the centre. we said if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to beat us at fullbacks, or your fullbacks got to come in and they've got to have the space, which was exactly what happened with the first goal. Tariq Lamptey had an again. I don't think you blame Jordan Ayew too much for that. I blame for other stuff, but just not for this. And Jordan came in, and Tariq on his left foot, on his weaker foot, hits it like Mahrez. And I just thought that was a brilliant goal. Really, just brilliant goal. Tariq, absolutely. Remember his first game was actually against Leicester, and he made Ben Chilwell look silly. Bearing in mind this is his first Premier League cap. Ben Chilwell didn't know what to do with him, and he's been out, and he's been a good player, but he's injury prone. That's the only problem with him. So the way that Leicester play and what we're trying to achieve, I think that we did such a good job of nullifying a lot of their attacking threat. Did we see Matoma? Did we say Rutter too much? No. And partly it was with the one-on-one defending from James Justin, and from the centre backs and from Christensen, and they deserve a lot of praise. But what was nice is that at times the passing was a lot more together. We actually had more possession in the game, which was surprising to me. It maybe just tipped it at the end, but overall, I thought that Brighton did, just from the gut feeling. But they had 54% possession. Also, we had 54% possession. They had the rest of them, 46. I was so happy with the way that this team was turning out and starting to play. The midfield duo, we've touched on the back four. Again, who would have thought at the beginning of the season Connor Cody and Vestergaard would be such a great duo? I wouldn't have said that. I say you play one or the other, and you play a back three to really get the most out of them. Yes, we are playing a back three with James Justin, but both of them, I thought there was too little pace. But even then, when a way to mix it up, they take out Vestergaard, and I think both of them were great in the game. It weren't as Vestergaard didn't get on the ball as much and play those fast passes in the balls. I think that's the way that Brighton kind of nullified him, because they noticed that he was the guy in the previous game that was dictating play from the back. It was going from him to Samore, back to him, and then going out wide or going to a certain other position. Yeah, and anyway, coming back to the first half, we took control of the game a lot more. And when we did that, we started to really see what Ruud is trying to do. And as I mentioned before, the fans love it, because when we play, we can play on the counter. We can decide to hold the ball and move the ball around. We can then play the one-touch football for the second goal, and even the first goal. It was lovely one-touch football, and I think Ruud is just, if he keeps developing, my God, this guy is something special. And I know it's only been a couple of games, but I want to speak positively about the team. I don't want to slag them off every week. But there was some brilliant stuff. Now I'll mention some of the post-match comments that he made. And this team is only going to get stronger. Bearing in mind with Fatau out, with what's his face, with Ricardo coming back into the team. You can see Ricardo coming back into the team, playing right back. This team is going places, man, and I'm so excited for the journey. At the end of the day, we just need to stay safe. I want to mention another couple of duos. Connor Cody, I thought was great today. Christensen did a lot more effective with going forward and joining the attack, especially in the latter part of the first half, where all the attacking threat was from his position. If you notice the highlights, or you watch the highlights again, in the first half, it is Christensen that's putting these balls in, and good quality balls. That's one criticism I had before, where, again, is it a manager just giving him a simple opportunity? Because Steve Cooper started to play him, and we were all like, what are you doing? I've had enough of him. And I think I was like, well, what does he bring to the team? And now we're seeing it. He brings physicality. He can mark a defender properly, and also he can join in with the attack, and push up into that centre back, the left back, pushing up to left wing and putting some brilliant crosses in. Some of the crosses he was putting in were brilliant. They just lacked finishing from opposition, and the ball was coming in, whipping it round. And again, and at the same time, he kept Rutter quiet. I think he had such a good game today. And then again, some of the ratings, some of the scores we've got. Two players I want to mention that had two different halves, in my opinion. Are you actually, as much as I slagged him off, he had a better second half than he did the first half. I know he only played like 15 minutes or so, but and Rude was telling him to get for. I keep saying Enzo. I'm gonna have to get that on my head. Getting forward into the position of um of football, and he was pushing up a lot more. Another player that really improved in that second half is Samore. He was trying to do stuff and he was trying to get the ball, but he was loose with his passing and it wasn't quite working out. And Rude told him, I think Rude told him at half time, be more aggressive, take more ownership, and improve your passing. And he improved his ability to run around a little bit more. He was tracking back a lot more, but they was told, right, we're gonna have to give it a go. Because my favorite player on that pitch, even though I've mentioned a load of them so far, until he got injured, was Wolfley Ndidi. I really hope it's not serious. Apparently, it's a hamstring, but that could be. I'm really hoping it's a minor one. He's only out for a period of time because this guy was firefighting, and one of the reasons why their back four didn't really have an opportunity to improve. Um, what a guy, and we're just taking it back to basics. Go and defend the fullback or just firefight the midfield, and make sure that nothing comes through the center. Him and Samore drop in, especially him was doing a load of firefighting, and people have criticized him for going, "Oh, you can only do a 5-yard pass." At the end of the day, you've got somebody in the team that has the opposite of that, that can do the attacking stuff, that can do the defensive stuff, but is better at the attacking. So just give it the 5-yard pass to him, and then he can take it and do what he wants with it. I'm really hoping Ndidi's not out for a period of time. I think he was great today. I would give him up to that point that he got sent off. I would think he would get sent off. He was injured, man of the match. So Moray, I thought in the first half, as mentioned, didn't quite hit the levels that we wanted. But I'm really glad that he was left on, because again, when Skip was taken off, Skip was put on for Ndidi, I was thinking, what we're gonna do now. And it's not like we're playing them in a similar position. Skip was playing a lot higher, and that meant that we've not seen Samori in the CDM role being as effective. But I thought he really grew into the game under the instruction. I think part of the reason why that was because Rude made great substitutions. Obviously, and Diddy coming off, for me, that was like, damn, that's a big loss. But we started to grow into the game. We started to push up the pitch and get in higher positions. Started to play the ball a little bit quicker. And for the second goal that they scored, there was a bit where I went, "What are we? It's just not going to be our day, lads." And even the commentators on Leicester, the commentators on the Leicester visual channel, I think Match of the Day, they all said, "Oh, the game's over now," which I kind of thought at the same time. I was like, such sucker punch, because we've been playing well and we've been building up to this point. And that goal, after that goal, he then, one of the substitutions he makes again, he takes Vestergaard off for his pace and he puts Walt Fast in for the aggression and the interceptions, and then also to get the ball and then play it quickly. Which again, Walt Fast, even though I've slated him under Cooper and under the Brentford game, he's come on and he's conceded one opportunity. He's come in this game and he kept a clean sheet. His clean sheet. Do you know what I mean? So I can't criticize him too much. Another substitution that really worked after 60 minutes, they'd given up an opportunity. You could argue and say, yes, take him off at halftime. I just don't think that was the right move, because you want to go out second half and really prove yourself, and then get substituted. And that was Jordan Ayew, and Casey McAteer. Casey gives you the pace and power, but I think with him, how do I say this? I think with more coaching, he can get there. But again, he's been put into the team for his defensive capabilities. But at times when he meets his man one-on-one, is he the man to get past them? We saw the difference between Jordan Ayew and Mavididi when Mavididi came on. Willing to get, just didn't know what's happening. And also, he was linking up really nicely with Christensen on that left-hand side. And it's something we didn't see under Steve Cooper. It was like they're both running into each other's space. They didn't really know what each other were doing. But they've been Mavididi made such a difference when he came on, and I wish he got an assist for it as well, because he was so good when he came on. I think he deserves his place in the team to start now. Another player that I do think deserves a player as well at the start is D. Reed. I thought he played. If you watch the first goal, lovely build up from Skip, and then Deco Reed. And I've been talking about Deco Reed for a while because I think he is a good. He's not a bad a player that he's been under Steve Cooper. I don't think they all are, just because Steve Cooper sucked the life out of these players. Deco Reed gets. That's what I love about him. Is he good at taking his man on 1-on-1? But I didn't realize he was that good. The setup for Vardy for the first goal and the finish from Vardy, I don't think that's being talked about enough. Vardy, the way he hits that was just pure experience. But it was on the volley as it's coming over, first time, hits it like that, just straight into the corner. Brilliant finish. And I don't think that's getting enough information I don't think it's getting enough touched on, in my opinion. The way that we decided to play and how we decided to finish it. Second of all, the way that the football was being played, it was a lot more high tempo. They brought on, I forgot what his name was for the second goal, Julio, for Matoma, to kind of big guy with loads of tattoos, and it was, and we were the one that nicked it for the second goal. The way that we decided to play, how we decided to dispossess them, that they wanted it more. They wanted to get back into the game. If it's 2-0, I thought the game's over for Steve Cooper. But we know 2-0 isn't the scoreline. It's 3-2. So it's 3-0 to really see off the game. Brighton were a bit shocked and stunned. Especially even in the first half, I saw Hertz frustrated. And I think that's because what we did then, we frustrated them. It took a worldie from Lamptey to put them back into the game. And they didn't create many absolute clear-cut opportunities, which I thought was really good from us. Defensively, I can't wait to see what Rude does and how he shores it up. But I think it is the Enzo ball, but it is with more confidence, more directness, and more pragmatism, I think. And Enzo ball, I think, works for Chelsea, and why I've seen them succeed is because they've got such talented players, way above our pay, way above the players that we've got. And I think that works at the very top level. You look what Russell Martin is trying to do a similar thing, but he's nowhere near the quality of the manager, nowhere near the quality of the squad, and no chance that. Well, if we look at the squad at the moment, they're all the way down in a lower position. So as it stands, if you look at them, they're on 5 points. And just something to mention, we are now 5 points at the same gap that they've got between. They've got 5 points, which is the same gap between Leicester and Ipswich, which is a really nice place to be, really opening up the gap. Yes, Wolves still have to play, but again, another point just in the right direction, especially with the teams that we've got coming up towards the end of the month. We're going to need every point we get until that gap becomes closed. But I think Southampton are gone. And I'd really like Harwood Bellis, by the way. So Leicester, if you're listening, I think they'll be a really good player to have in the team. Anyway, coming back to Rude and the belief that he's given the players, and that the substitutions he made were great. Yes, they probably shouldn't have started the likes of Ayew and McAteer in hindsight, but it's his second game. It's the first week in the job. And what he's done, and he's just given the players belief, hope, and it's encouraged them to be a bit more physical in the challenge, to fight for the ball, to win. And that's damning Steve Cooper and absolute praise for Rude for the way that he's done that. And the second goal, again, it works because we press so high. I think Mavididi wins it, and he was and just gives the ball. Now, about Vardy, we all know how great striker he is, and again, obviously he gets man of the match today. The way that he got the ball and then played it across instinctually, knows, and Deco Reed is getting in those positions, and that's something that Casey McAteer needs to learn from. I think he needs to sit down and go, "What are you doing, and what runs are you making?" Because I think Casey could do the same job. Deco Reed isn't as good as taking on a man and getting past him with flair, but he's more technical. And I think that technicality is a really positive thing for us. But he's also getting good positions to score, not just in this game, but in the previous game, if you noticed, when Buonanotte, I think he was just offside. Otherwise, he would have had another tap-in. You've got to get into those positions for the tap-ins. And Vardy, and that's a sign of another brilliant striker. Not just provide the goals, but provide the assists. on that left-hand side, it would Vardy had an 80% chance of scoring, 78%. Again, my vibes, not just from looking at it. But he decides to play it over. And it reminds me very much of, the match after Jamie Vardy got his 11th. We played Swansea. And he was in a good position. I think went from Kante, and then Jamie Vardy swiveled, and he could have shot. He could have gone for his 12th goal. But unselfishly, he brings in Mahrez for the tap-in. If you can remember that one. That's what that second goal reminded me of. But the scenes when that goal goes in, the place erupts and they all run over, and the celebrations from the whole team. So More's giving it a big one. You've got obviously Deco Reed, Jamie Vardy, Mavididi all running over to that corner of the pitch and celebrating as a team. Like it was like, we've done this, we've got back into the team, and it was just that feeling just raised the roof on there, and I was so impressed with them. The way that we decided to play and the formations, etc. I was sublime, really, really was. He made some issues, and bearing in mind, this is without Fatal, without Ricardo, and also without Rude signings. I think he'll go in for a couple of attacking PSV options in the summer, which aren't in the January window, and also mentioned in his pre-match press conference that he wants to go in. He's talking about the summer transfer window as well. Now, in January, we don't really do as much. We tend to do more on the summer, as we all know. So at the end of the day, we stay safe and we build on what we've done, because I'm so impressed. Another couple of players I want to mention, well, I haven't mentioned so far. We've got 27 minutes without mentioning El Khanous. El Khanous is a baller, as we've seen. He didn't have his best game today, and he didn't really step it up enough in the second half. I think he was trying the overly ambitious stuff because he believes he can do it. And I think he will be able to do it. He's just not quite there yet to do it on the consistent base that he wants. He did give the ball away sometimes, but some of the build-up play around him was great. Him moving into the 10, I think there was some balls were just off. And I don't want to discourage the lad. I wanted to say, put the effort in. You will be rewarded. And he just needs to keep developing on those specific things, because he's going places. And I think with us, I heard actually on BBC Radio Leicester that he's learning Spanish, and people are always because he wants to speak to Buonanotte, and I'm like, come on, man. Let's call me cynical, but I think that he's looking for a move to like Barcelona or Real Madrid, because I think he thinks he's going to the top, not in an arrogant way, but he wants to be able to go to the top. And it may be, as well, the side effect is you go and you play alongside Buonanotte and talk to him more. But I think that he wants to, maybe call me cynical, I think he wants to go to Real Madrid and see that, that's the level I want to play at. And so that's why I'm learning Spanish. And as he speaks, I imagine he speaks Flemish and Arabic from Morocco, and a little bit of French as well. And obviously English he's pretty fluent at, being from Belgium. Sorry, yeah, Belgium. But yeah, overall, I'm absolutely happy with what we're developing into, and it's a mentality monster. I think that's probably what I should name this, mentality monster. But it's such a great comeback from a side that I'm so excited. I've got so much more hope and ambition behind this club. I can't wait to see what we do next. So anyway, guys, that's my thoughts on the game. Again, appreciate it's later than usual. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll see you all in the next video. So goodbye.